This is part one of probably a two-part essay, maybe three, called American Education Sucks. It says policy implications, which I'll get to, but I think you need to understand exactly what goes on in education and why it cannot possibly succeed and why it cannot possibly justify the human toil and the resources that go into it. I don't know anything about education outside the U.S., and in fact, I really only know about the schools I've attended and the schools I've taught in. And that includes elementary school, junior high, high school in Port Arthur, Texas, 3.5 years at Tulane University, decades at the University of Houston, a year at George Washington University, a semester at Columbia University, two semesters at Lamar College. I taught in the Houston Independent School District as a substitute teacher across all different kind of courses in the late 60s, taught at the University of Houston, taught at Lee College, taught at a number of branches of other universities in Houston, and also at community colleges. I taught counseling, psychology, economics, business. I taught addiction, I taught counseling, I taught individual counseling, I taught group counseling. Taught American government and politics. I taught principles of economics, macroeconomics and microeconomics. And strangely, it appears that I'm capable of teaching anything that I can genuinely understand. And to that end, when I taught either at the high school or college level, we had controlled experiments in which students were tested not on textbooks, which I refused to use, but on questions about the world. Or they were compared, my classes were compared with classes, say, in American government politics in terms of turnouts in elections, turnouts in caucuses, a year after they had left my course and I had never seen them again. In schools where students have a choice of their courses and teachers, my classes always filled before people teaching similar courses. And when there were achievement comparisons, my students always outperformed. And I very ordinarily used to, at the end of a heated discussion about the ineffectiveness of instruction in psychology or economics, I would simply offer to wager $10,000 that my students could outperform the students of the person who was disputing with me. And of course, teachers don't wager $10,000 because, one, they don't give a shit, and two, they don't believe in themselves, and three, they're not any good at it. And for me, having it down perfect was extremely important. And what did that amount to? It amounted to understanding it intuitively, inside and out. Now, let's take somebody in a classroom. Let's take a child. Now, children, for approval of adults, will do all sorts of things. But if you're teaching a child the things that children, human children, are able to acquire effectively, one is they learn to walk. They're not taught to walk. They just start walking. Now, adults may assist them, but it's only the adult that thinks that there's teaching taking place. If you take a human child, just 99 human children out of 100 who have normal hearing, if you don't lock them in a closet, then they're going to learn to speak. Humans acquire this. Humans acquire language. It's built into our genetic makeup. It's built into our neurological structure. This is the gift of the human, that while we're not that strong and not that fast, we can coordinate with each other by using verbal symbols and by storing written things, and that we can improve on that, whereas other animals simply repeat the things that they've done in the past that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Now, human children also learn to read the minds of other humans. This is rather strikingly not the case for autistic children, which makes this a subject of great interest. Autistic children, as I understand it, don't seem to feel that they can understand what goes on with other members of their species. Intelligent, articulate autistic children, there are some, have later as adults explained this, that they always felt like they were living on Earth after having come from Mars, and they just didn't know what was going on in the people. But they may have had great mastery, for example, of mechanical devices. And some autistic people are quite intelligent. They tend to see in images. So you have an organism that's good at figuring out what's going on in other organisms, in communicating verbally, and in learning to move around. Humans also have a strong need to be part of a group. This varies with cultures, but the base is that humans have all these skills because we are a social species and we depend on each other, and we will be punished by loneliness if we wander too far. And what do schools contribute to that? Schools manage to kill almost all the natural learning mechanisms that our species brings in. It's like, it's been compared to a German factory system. And that probably is a good analogy. Is that it?
Keep going.
What's the time?
9.
Okay. So in the part 2, I want to give the elements that must be necessary if formal instruction is to be effective.